Good morning, Yasha Allah, in all the diaspora throughout the roundness of the earth, throughout the length and breadth of the earth, and thus into all those areas where the Most High hath scattered the 12 tribes. To you, he sends his word this morning. And by the blessed Ruach, we give esteem unto him, Abanawa, and Bahasham, Mashiach, word of power, our King and High Priest. The lesson this morning is the depth of the 400 years captivity, the depth of 400 years captivity. We have to bring it out so that the world might know that we are indeed the offspring, that offspring of Abraham that has been chosen of the Most High to be his oracles in the earth, so that you are able to distinguish us from all other who claim privilege, birthright, and entrance into the order of conduct to promote the will of the Most High Yahweh in the earth. There's only one people. As our elder prophet Ezra says, as one people, one nation, one stream. I might add, for further emphasis, one choir of praise in the earth unto the Most High. That's the 12 tribes. That's Yasha Allah. Although we've had disputes going on for thousands of years now, but our duty here today is to sweep away all the clutter and whatsoever has been a cause of confusion to the citizens of the earth. It is our duty here today to remove those by the power of the Ruach of the Most High, because of the gift of his word in the Son, who is our King and High Priest today. There is no other nation upon the earth that can make this claim. According to the book of Psalms, chapter 147, I believe it is, verse 18 and 19, he's given his word to Yasha Allah, his statutes, to Yahiqab. He hasn't done so with any other nation. And so let us proceed then to the understanding of the depth of 400 years captivity. We have had the privilege to give the remarks before that this 400-year captivity, as we have been privileged to see now over and again, looking at it in the word of scripture, Bereshith, Genesis chapter 15. We see in the passage there, in Genesis chapter 15, let's see if we can pull it up a little bit here and read it for ourselves again, for a refresher. Bereshith chapter 15. Everybody got it now? We got it, class? Bereshith chapter 15. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram. And lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I make a ruling upon. And afterward shall they come out with great substance. All right. The purpose here in bringing up this refresher for Yasha Allah, 12 tribes, and the world is to produce and encourage a clarity of thought, a clarity of decision. Because in the presence of the word of the Most High, is always a moment, the time for decision. The word of the Most High is not idle. And when you come to sit, to stand, to present yourself in the presence of the word of the Most High, you cannot be neutral. You might attempt to claim neutrality, but there's no neutrality in the presence of the Word of the Most High. It's always a moment of decision. Not only a moment for decision, the Word of the Most High is the moment of decision. That is the reason why it exists. To cause men and the inhabitants of the entire cosmos to recognize that our lives are presently faced with, juxtaposed against decision. We got to make a decision. It's no standing still. No still standing. Decision. And so we want to help the world out there, the world of humanity, that is, and all the beings, that have sought to hide themselves from the presence of the moment of decision. You see, it's not only humanity that lives even upon the very earth where we are. There's a multiplicity of beings that the Most High has created. So you need not doubt or worry about the presence of other beings that are called various names and given, certain designations. The Most High, as we are told in the scriptures, created the heavens and the earth and all that in them is. So there are hosts of intelligent creation around us and about us. All right. The 400 years matter that is under review at this moment. First of all, then, forgive me, please, and let us read our opening scripture from the book of Ephesians, I think that's Ephesians chapter 3. Let's look there for a moment, please. Class, let's look at Ephesians chapter 3. And I thought of doing one verse, but now I got the feeling that maybe I should do the two verses that I have in mind. Verses 9 and 10. Ephesians chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. Are we ready now, class? Ephesians chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. And to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in Yahweh Elohim, who created all things by Hamashiach, the Blessed One. to the intent that now unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places might be known by the church the manifold wisdom of Elohim. In this we see Yasha'Allah and word are there, the awesome responsibility of the ecclesia, of the called out ones, indeed, of the 12 tribes. No other nation has been given this responsibility, as we have begun to declare unto you. He showed his word unto Yaqub, the 12 tribes. And we beg you to examine the historical evidence that is before you. Our purpose is in the fulfilling of the oath the Most High Yahweh swore unto our forefather Abraham, to produce you and me of the 12 tribes. It was because of this oath to Abraham that we have been brought forth. And I might add, it is because of that oath we have been committed to, as the scriptures say, not only suffering and brutality and brokenness at resurrection, but the pleasures, the treasures of the kingdom to come. There's much expectation in the earth, in the world, concerning the future. And there's desire to know what really is to be expected from the future. We are here to help you. In verse 9 and 10 again, this is our purpose, Yasha'Allah, to make all men see. All men, first of all, is directed to the 12 tribes, the cradle, the very cradle that the Mashiach was born into. And he is the head of the 12 tribes. He is the principal offering of the covenant sworn unto Abraham concerning the seed that will come to crush the head of the serpent. And of those born in the cradle with him, 12 tribes, head crushers of the serpent. But to them it has been committed, as we see in Ephesians chapter 3 here, it has been committed unto the 12 tribes to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery. This mystery that from the beginning of the world was hidden, and it has taken the revelation of Hamashiach to bring forth the knowledge and clarity of this mystery. And one place it says, Hamashiach, the wisdom of Alahayim, the power of Alahayim. So it has been committed unto us, Yasha Allah. And all the boasting and claims of any other to be the light of the world in view of this calling here to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, Mashiach in us, the hope of the esteem. Iante koshida manaya, which from the beginning of the world hath been hid in Alahayim, who created all things by Mashiach. See how simple that is? And yet the world has been in a state of confusion. I'm speaking of the people who inhabit the globe have continually been, as it were, enclosed by a state of confusion about this truth. Of the Mashiach, who, being born into the cradle of the 12 tribes and manifested in the end of time, according to the scriptures, in the days of Herod the king and Pilate, who were rulers in our homeland, Jerusalem, that the historical records cannot expunge the facts of it. Oh, there has been a mountain of attempts to get rid of the facts of the knowledge of the revelation of Mashiach. It's been all kinds of efforts, but you see, the word of scripture that has been committed unto Yasha Allah. He shows his word unto Yaquab, his testimonies, children of Yasha Allah. Hasn't done so to any other nation. His word could not be hid. With all the bravery of Rome, all the brazenness of Rome, of all the many rulers that promoted themselves as God. I'm speaking of God as the word God is, because it is the name of Satan, of the fallen one, and not meaning by it the Most High. And so we've had this opposition in the earth between Esau and Yaquab, as it is testified of in Bereshit chapter 25, I believe, the birth of these two boys that will bring so much drama into the world, into the earth, having everybody for a time in a state of perplexity and confusion, wanting to know what really is going on in the earth and what would be the end of these matters. That's why he showed his word unto Jacob, to Yaakov, so there would be a faithful witness, as the apostle Yohanan says in his writing in the Revelation of Mashiach. It is indeed a trusted word. And those who have had doubts, you're free to have doubts if you wish to have them. That's on you. But the sun that rises in the east and sets in the west is proof, according to Psalm chapter 8, I believe it is. The heavens declare the esteem of Elohim. Shows that these are his handiwork, created by him. It's evident for you to see that in all your doubting, you can't pull the sun down. You can't dismiss it. It stands firm and immovable to you. You can't move it. You could get as many men that you require. Bring all the bulldozers, whatever you want. Can't move it. Stands because it was put there by the power of omnipotence. Abanawa, by his word, the Mashiach, as Ephesians tells us here. So the intent for all of this explosion of knowledge and wisdom is that the principalities and powers in heavenly places, them fellas who be hiding up in the constellations and you know, they jettison themselves down to the earth and do some kind of stuff, and then you know you hearing about UFO and this O and the next O, and making themselves appear to be, I mean, eternal powers, and they're not. They are demons that promote doctrines of devils. But it is given to the assembly, Yasha'Allah, to make all men see the fellowship of this mystery. And the principalities and powers of the heavens, the heavenly places, and Orion, and Pleiades, and Arcturus, the Great Dipper, and all those places, that the principalities in heaven might know by us, the assembly, what is the, you know, the multitudinous evidence of the wisdom of Elohim. We got to let them know, because those who fell from relationship with Most High fell into ignorance and darkness. They lost the knowledge of the Most High. Don't mind those who tell you that Satan fell, but he didn't lose any of his powers. Ain't got none. All powers given to the Mashiach, according to our Torah. And so the principalities and powers have been relying on their ability to deceive. Indeed, they deceived our first mother, which is the reason for us being in the condition that we have been in for these 6,000 years. And the revelation of Mashiach is the will of the Most High Yahweh to clear away the darkness, to clear away the effect of the rebellion that began in heaven and was furthered here on earth in our first, in our forefathers, our first father and mother. So we are at the point now in the drama, in the warfare, that in the end, in this coming of the end of the age and the tearing down of the kingdom of Esau, we, Yasha'Allah, might make the principalities and powers to understand why they are so foolish to have thought, why they have intended to raise all the hell they have raised in the earth, in our midst, to cause all this confusion, sickness and death and destruction with Esau and the leadership of the world's miseries. It is put upon us, Yasha'Allah, to conduct this ministry of reconciliation to the Father. And we have been given the preeminence above all nations to make him known in the power of the Ruach. This is our mission. And so we find then in the clearing up of the mystery that we speak of here in Ephesians, we have this 400 years puzzle for humanity, that puzzle our forefather Abraham also, because of a 400 years of such torture administered by Satan himself, Gadriel the fallen, and those who have chosen to follow him. They created an Orwellian world. Yeah, Tekobo. They created a world of cyberspace dwelling. They have created a world of escape from the world that is, where we can sit and from our windows or our porches, wherever we dwell, we can look outside and we can see the beauty of the sun. And interface with all the elements. We can have that. But this brave new world that Esau has been trying to present to us and to have us locked down into this invisible foolishness that Esau has generated for us. We say no. No, 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 no brave new world from Orwell or any such one. We want the real new world, not the brave new world, the real new world that comes when the stone cut out of the mountains without hand, according to Daniel chapter 2, 44, I believe it is. When this stone cut out of the mountains without hand crushes the feet of that image, break it, tears it apart, grinds it to powder, so that the kingdom of the Most High, Yahweh, and his one lovely and altogether power of the ruler, when he sets up the kingdom that shall never be destroyed, no matter how much Esau drools upon it. No matter how much architectural drawings he puts together. You can't put together enough architecture to save yourself from the destruction of the stone that is cut out of the mountain without hand. So we see from the 400 years debacle, matter of fact, what we are doing here, this moment, is to present an audit of the overall achievement of the kingdom of Esau. We want to present this to the world on Esau's behalf because he can't do it for himself. I know he makes all the boasts about how powerful he is and how God he is and what he can do. I believe there's a consensus of agreement that the expression of Esau's power is death, destruction, and scattering of togetherness, brotherly love, kindness. That's the hallmark of Esau's reign in the earth. So we as the oracles and as ambassadors of the kingdom, priests under our high priest Hamashiach, the work of the priest was to have the authority of audit of the kingdom. This is the work of the priesthood. And Satan knows it. He knew it. And this is why he was so much after the Levites, to bring them down. And one of the revelations, the deep revelation of the 400 years enslavement, is that within the last, 300 years about, we had this thing called the French Revolution. And out of the French Revolution was born a an organization. I'll use that. An organization was born by the title of the Blood Oath Covenant. This Blood Oath Covenant between Esau and Levi. And Levi contracted the Blood Oath Covenant on our behalf, on behalf of the house of Yahweh, that also had by extension the inclusion of our brethren of South America who were of and who are of the northern tribes of the house of Yashar'Allah. So altogether, as the book of Isaiah shows, that both houses were oppressed together by Esau. And then so we giving this audit now of the accomplishment of Esau. It is our prerogative to do that. Esau cannot give you an audit of the situation. He doesn't have command of the language to do it, or the knowledge wherewith to put everything in perspective. The best Esau can show you is destruction. That's his forte. Destroy everything. Create bombs and more bombs and destroy everything. That's the power of Esau, destruction. So here's in our audit of the situation, Yashar'Allah, these are the credits for Esau. 400 years enslavement of the tribes. But in it, and by the inherent power of the blood oath covenant, what do we have so powerful coming out of that? Is the knowledge and the understanding of the hidden one, the anti-Messiah, was Levi, was hidden in this 400 years enslavement of 12 tribes. The anti-Messiah, whom Esau tried to hide in his rendition of Antichrist or Antichrist. It is the anti-Messiah of the priesthood who set themselves in array against the Mashiach from the time of the crucifixion under Herod and Pilate, Edom. The 400 years enslavement exposed the hidden anti-Messiah. Levi, can't hide yourself from the Mashiach. How could you hide yourself from the eyes of the Mashiach? when our brother Yochanan saw him on the Isle of Patmos, where Esau threw him to destroy him, boil him in hot oil. This is what Esau had done. This is the forte of Esau's rulership, destruction and pain. But the father gave the brother the revelation of Mashiach. That brought forth the understanding, the full understanding of the 400 years enslavement and the hidden element of the anti-Messiah in the blood oath covenant of the Napoleonic incursion into the history of the earth, the history of the world, coming out of the Catholic Church, Esau. But yes, we see the rising of the anti-Messiah through the rebellion of the Levites who left their posts of priests unto the Most High. This is the clue. They abandoned their priesthood under the Most High to take up priesthood according to the order of the Catholic Church. I mean, the Catholic Church had no real priests, and Satan knew it. But by the power of war and bombs, they ascribed to themselves priesthood. And so they were ruling by their bombs and making people believe that they had some priesthood authority. But Satan knew they didn't have it. He is their ruler. He knew they didn't have it. And therefore, he was always after the priesthood of the Most High. You can only get legitimate products from the original source. Isn't that a fact? And so, yes, he got the ability, he got the freeway through the rebellion of the Levites to throw down the priesthood of the Most High and take up priesthood unto Satan, and brought forth the blood of the covenant that sealed the intentions of the rebellious Levites, fallen Levites, to turn themselves over to Satan and do his works. And I think everyone will find it interesting to see the outcome of the blood oath covenant. I have some listing here of what was achieved by the machinations, the conduct of the blood oath covenant. So what you had coming out of the blood oath covenant was, first of all, the revelation of the anti-Messiah, to the credit of Napoleon Bonaparte. That's where the anti-Messiah was situated. They've tried to hide it. But the revelation of Hamashiach declares it, reveals it, so that all the world can see, but chiefly for his beloved, Yasha. Satan was trying to wipe from the face of the earth by the hand of Esau. So you had, I mean, I think it's an array of darkness, achievement of darkness. Let's try and get an understanding of it. Top of the list was the achievement, the bringing forth of the anti-Messiah as Levi. And in that, you had, we have had the word of saying, I'm trying to kind of put things in order, and it's a bit difficult. When we look at the commencement of slavery, the enslavement of tribes, this was Levi's order. This was Levi's idea. Esau wanted or had ideas about it and wished. I think I could say that. I kind of think that would have been in his evil mind to do and to produce it, but he didn't know how to do it really. So Levi, falling prey to him, Levi set up the enslavement of the tribes. As I've shown you before, in the disorder in France over the economic crisis, Levi is the one who came to the rescue and offered the tribes to ameliorate the economic crisis of France. Their slavery was created in the 1700s by Levi's leadership. And then in 1812, you had, you know that fellow on the James River proclaiming the protocols, how to make a slave. That came out of Levi's work. Levi did it. And of course, Esau took the credit for it, as he has taken the credit for so many other things. The main feature of the blood oath covenant was the bringing forth, setting forth the anti-Messiah. You can't forget it, world. We won't let you forget it. And then, from stealing the credit of making the slave, as the Willie Lynch letter promotes, you had it is my thought that the Jewish, I guess we had some kind of a amalgamation, really. And in fact, with the revelation of the 400 years enslavement revealed in the Blood Oath Covenant review, is that Esau's set up let me put it this way. Esau had done for him, set up for him by Levi, the disfiguration of the image of the Most High chosen leader of the earth by the process of the splicing, whereby, through the brutality of the slavery, Levi started and continued to direct by the splicing to disfigure the image of the chosen rulers of the earth in the house of Yehoiada, Judah. The splicing switched the image and set up the image of Esau, rulership over the house of Judah. I showed you this in graphic. I wonder if I can find maybe I'll show it to you at another time. But I showed it to you already, where Levi spliced the image of the two, Esau and Jacob, and splice it to give the appearance of Esau being the dominant one and ruler, leader. And I've expressed to you the view that this splicing has been responsible for the mass murders. I mean, Esau is a mass murderer already. But when Levi did the splicing to unite the two with Esau and the dominance of rulership with the force of the natural order having been disturbed and put into an effective arrangement by birth, by normal birth. These who have been deranged and misapplied, mixed together. Talk about mad scientists and Jekyll and Hyde. That was Levi. He gave the credit to Esau. Jekyll and Hyde was Levi. And so with the splicing of the two to make one, that is what has been at the root of these uncharacteristic murdering of Levi. I mean of Esau, because Levi had spliced them and put Jacob and Esau together. And Shakespeare says, the twain shall never meet. But Levi achieved it. There sprang forth a murdering spree that is in continuance or has been in continuance until this day. An unexplainable phenomenon of murder was created by this splicing of Levi. So the Jewish modeling of authority in the earth by birthright inheritance was consolidated by the splicing that with the ones who had been spliced now producing by childbirth the hybrid that was claimant to the birthright inheritance. It became, as it were, an indisputable matter. But the evidence of the mixing, the depth of cruel terror in the earth caused by this mixing that was done by Levi, it was not Esau. It was the mad scientist Levi that did it. Shukotobo. And so let's look at this a little bit closer. Let's exegete this matter a little bit more to see what was done to reorder the very purposes. Or we could put it in the singular, the very purpose of the Most High in his choice of Yaakov and the 12 tribes. The splicing that Levi did to put Esau on the top resulted in this Jewish hybrid that had now, as it were, a natural force behind their motive and their actions, an invisible natural force created by the splicing, that through childbirth, that legitimize its its genuineness to the claim of preeminence of birthright. This was the work of Levi. And Esau drooled over it, because now the splicing legitimized him in the eyes of the world. And, being sealed by the order of birthright, I mean, from the point of a creation that was brought forth by the process of birthing. It was something irreversible by scientific terms. And so there we have it, all done in the blood oath covenant that was put together by Satan and managed by Esau, but conducted by Levi. Levi was the conductor. That's the mad scientist, Levi. So do not get it twisted word. It is Levi. It's to his credit. I'm bringing it forth by the Ruach to let you know where the credits really lie and to whom the credit really belongs. Levi is the Jekyll and Hyde. The real Jekyll and Hyde is Levi. And so, on the strength of the reproductive order of the splicing to present this hybrid to the world, that we call the Jewish. On the strength of that, you have George Orwell's Brave New World. That seemed to be such a legitimate creation of Esau. All of this came out of the hybridization of Esau from the splicing that Levi did to try and legitimize the Jew as inheritor of the birthright. This was the work of Levi. And so that is why you had, after the introduction of slavery in the very beginning of the French Revolution, you had now the Edomite that came in 1812 on the James River and proclaimed, let's make a slave, the making of a slave. This is how it happened, Yasha Allah. This is how it happened, world. Out of the blood of the covenant. So I want to mention here that you may see as a part of the exercise of the enslavement protocol, that firstly, the enslavement of 12 tribes was begun in Mitzrayim. When Moshe was called, to do his thing before the Pharaoh. And the driver, the principle behind the 400 years enslavement was something called the Amun-Ra Sephirothal tree. I intended to bring you a graphic displaying the Sephirothal tree, but I think it's pretty well known in the whole earth what the Sephirothal tree looks like. And I want to place right beside that. I don't have the graphic right at the moment. I want to place right beside the Sephirothal tree. That was the guiding light of Mitzrayim, of Egypt. I want to place beside that the 10 commandments that we have. Now, the Sephirothal tree itself is the guiding light of Mitzrayim. The 10 commandments that we have in our scriptures, I think, can be seen to be something different, something other than the Sephirothal tree. I think it's plain to see. In the Sephirothal tree was the oracle that spoke to the Pharaoh or whomever was in charge to get guidance from Gabriel, from Satan. This was the intelligence of the Sephirothal tree. And therefore, the Ptolemies of Greece, Esau, that went to learn the craft of the knowledge of Mitzrayim, they actually wanted to learn the process of enslavement, which they did get. And when they came out of Mitzrayim with that knowledge, you know what happened. That culminated in the 400 years. I wanted to have a picture of a graphic of Esau's achievement of the Sephirothal tree. I think you know it by now. I showed it before. The little tiny thing called the Ouija board, the oracle and the Ouija board. That was Esau's match to the creation of the Sephirothal tree. You pull it up on your computer and see the Sephirothal tree. See how huge it is, and see, if I may use the word, the magnificence of it. That's the creation of ancient Mitzrayim that enslaved the tribes, the time of Moshe. And Esau, that conducted the 400 years enslavement on Yasha on the strength of the revelation of the Sephirothal tree that they got, that the Ptolemies got when they went to be taught by Egypt, Mitzrayim. See what they have produced as a copy of the Sephirothal tree. Look at the look at the difference in the production. I challenge you, go to your computer and pull up the Sephirothal tree, and be purposeful in pulling it up, and enlarge the Sephirothal tree, and then pull up a Ouija board that is to provide you a copy. This is Esau's copy of the Sephirothal tree. See the difference in the technology and the huge depiction of the depth of knowledge that is shown forth. I challenge you, go and look at it. Pull up your Sephiroth and enlarge it as much as you want. Then get your Ouija board to see what what Esau has accomplished in their intent to match the knowledge of Mizraim. I'm only bringing it forward to show you, to juxtapose the difference of the knowledge and science that is brought forth. I dare you, go and pull up the Sephiroth tree, then put the Ouija board beside it. But I'm giving you the historical evidence and the scriptural proof of the difference of knowledge and the power therewith that comes from Mizraim itself. It's place in the historical context of knowledge produced by the intense relationship between the human and the diabolics of Gadriel. See what Mizraim accomplished. But Levi is also an accomplished adept in evil. Look what he has produced in the Ouija board. See the difference? I think the difference is easy to be seen. Now put the both of them against the 10 Commandments of the scriptures. They're not the same. I know the Egyptologist dies to make a comparison and call the 10 Commandments coming out of Mizraim. But the Sephiroth tree and the scriptures show a difference that you are unable to ignore. So that's my contribution on the Egyptian Sephiroth tree and the Ouija board. It's these instruments of evil and destruction produced by Mizraim, who did the first 400 years, or whatever the amount was actually. And this 400 years that Esau has taken charge of it on the advice from the oracle of the Sephiroth tree. And so having said that, the revelation of the Mashiach is to the intent that the principalities and powers that were behind the Sephiroth tree creation, that were behind the Ouija board creation, Ephesians chapter 3, speaking to them, to the intent that now unto the principalities and powers in heavenly places might be known by the assembly, the manifold wisdom of the Most High in the revelation of Hamashiach. You remember the apostles, I believe it was, that were on the road to Emmaus, when the Mashiach caught up with them. And they heard his words, and when he disappeared from them, they say, did not our hearts burn within us as we walked and as he talked, as he expounded to us the scriptures? Does not our hearts burn within us, Yasha Allah, when we hear these revelations? To encourage, bring us, bind us together in love. So we come away from the hatred, and we ourselves gain more in our inclusion with the Mashiach. Because he is one who makes us know, as the called out ones, the manifold wisdom of the Most High Yahweh. We've given you a rundown of the accomplishments of Levi and Esau of the kingdom of darkness, to show what they have done, what they have accomplished. They weren't going to tell you. They are unable to. The duty was ours, and still ours, to make plain to the cosmos, to the world, the understanding of the manifold wisdom of the Most High in the face of Mashiach, the Blessed One. We want to show you a contrast now to help you further in your understanding of the future. Go to Jeremiah chapter 25. Jeremiah chapter 25. Jeremiah chapter 25. Go with me there, Yasha Allah. And you who are of the nations. Jeremiah chapter 25. Who's got it? Who's got it? Jeremiah chapter 25. I ain't got it yet. I'm trying to get it. I'm getting there, Yasha Allah. Jeremiah chapter 25. And so, Jeremiah chapter 25. We will begin to read from verse 13. Jeremiah chapter 25, beginning from verse 13. And I will bring upon that land all my words, which I have pronounced against it. Remember in the 400 years pronouncement? After Yasha Allah has served 400 years, he says, I'll bring a ruling upon the nation who done that. I'll make them to see and understand what it is they have to pay for their brave new Orwellian world that they wish to produce. Verse 13 of chapter 25 of Jeremiah. And I will bring upon that land all my words which I have pronounced against it, even all that is written in this book, which Jeremiah hath pronounced against all the nations. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them. That is the 12 tribes. Serve themselves of them. Make them servants and slaves and brutalize them according to their deeds and according to the works of their own hands. For thus saith Yahweh Elohim of Yasha'Allah unto me, take the wine cup of this fury at my hand, and cause all the nations to whom I send thee to drink it, and they shall drink it, and be moved, and be mad, because of all of the sword that I will send among them. Then took I the cup at Yahweh's hand, and made all the nations to drink, unto whom Yahweh had sent me, to understand Jerusalem. This is the first order of whipping and discipline. Jerusalem, Yasha'Allah, 12 tribes, headed by the house of Judah, Yahweh, and the cities of Yahweh, and the kings thereof, and the princes thereof, to make them a desolation and astonishment and hissing and a curse, as it is this day. Pharaoh, king of Mizraim, and his servants, and his princes, and all his people, and all the mingled people, and all of the kings of the land of Uz, and all the kings of the land of the Philistines, Ashkelon, Azza, Ekron, remnant of Ashdod, pardon me, Edom. What did I say? Edom, and Moab, and the children of Ammon, and all the kings of Tyrus, and all the kings of Zidon, kings of the islands which are beyond the sea. Now, that's where I live. Well, I'm a part of the diaspora and those places that are called islands of the sea. We're in the Bahamas, of course. There are other places that there are islands of the sea. Dedan, Tima, and Buzz, and all that are in the utmost corners, all the kings of Arabia, all the kings of Elam, all the kings of the Medes, and all the kings of the north, far and near, one with another, and all the kingdoms of the world, which are upon the face of the earth. And the king of Shishak shall drink after them. I'm going to skip down to verse 28. And it shall be, if they refuse to take the cup at thy hand to drink, then shalt thou say unto them, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, ye shall certainly drink, for lo, or in today's common language, he would say, look here, I begin to bring evil on the city which is called by my name. And should you be utterly free from punishment? You shall not go unpunished, for I will call for a sword upon all the inhabitants of the earth, saith Yahweh of hosts. I'll drop down to verse 33. And the slain of the Most High shall be at that day from one end of the earth even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither shall, or neither gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. So now I encourage you all listening to read the rest of the rest of the chapter. Matter of fact, go over it, read the whole chapter, and see your condemnation for your destruction of the 12 tribes in all the years of torment and torture that you have put upon them. You are free now to ignore it. But when we speak it, it goes in the records of the Shamayim, goes in the heavens, and forever his word is established in the heavens. You ignore it at your own peril. So one thing I want to mention again, the replacement theology, all of this came out of the blood oath covenant. You know, they were working on it for a long time, but they hadn't the authority. They did not have the authoritative gusto to pull it off until Levi put the mad scientist touch on it. And then the replacement theology came forth in full force, as we have been seeing it to date. With that, Yasha Allah, bid you shalom. Take courage. Fear not, little king, little flock, for it is your Father's good will. Give you the kingdom in the name of the Most High, Yahweh, our Father, Mashiach, the King and High Priest, and the mighty Ruach, the seal of all Abba's authority.